Heads up, because you're in the Hoodwood. I'm the Black Bandit, KJ Green, welcoming you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. Coming up in this edition, curious case of Kawhi Leonard. Have the LA Clippers over-leveraged themselves and painted themselves into a corner, trying to keep the recalcitrant star happy? Coaching hot seats. 2 coaches have already been fired, and we haven't made it to the first day of fall. Could there be more? And what are the prospects of en masse transfers from UCLA and Virginia Tech to other teams? Week 3 of the NFL picks. Started off fast with the first 2 weeks. Looking good. Can I make it 3 in a row? We'll see. We'll have all that. Fat dap, head slap. I may even put in the Hoodwood Hot 5, and Snuffy might even get his sign back. It's all sports from the Hoodwood. Coming at you. Put your crash helmets on. Buckle your seatbelts. Get ready. Sports from the Hoodwood coming at you. Let's go.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest, unfiltered commentary and insight on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's Hoodwood's hometown hero, KJ Green.
Greetings from the Hoodwood, where I'm actually getting older. Well, everybody's getting older, but my birthday's coming up this week. No cards, no fanfare, nothing. You just want to say hi on the Hoodwood site, either the website or on the Facebook site. Just drop a line. My birthday's Saturday, but I'll probably be doing other things, probably watching baseball. I'm your man, KJ Green. Welcome you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. And let's see. We will lead off with, I will start with college football. UCLA and Virginia Tech have both started 0-3. UCLA and Virginia Tech both fired their coaches. Brent Pry from the Hokies and Deshaun Foster from the Bruins both getting the gate after embarrassing 0-3 starts. And you look at both teams, and both of them recruited well. Both of them have a long legacy of historical promise. Both teams have always been. I'm going to pause that. Cut all that out. But when you're Virginia Tech and you get hammered, I mean, there's no shame in losing to South Carolina. South Carolina's a ranked team. But when you get hammered by teams like, getting hammered by Vanderbilt, no real shame in that. Vanderbilt's a team on the rise. But when you get hammered again and again and again and giving up 45 points to Old Dominion, are you serious? No. It just, the Hokies are a proud team. I mean, you can go all the way back to the days of Frank Beamer, the lunch pail type of defense. And it's just not happening in Blacksburg. It's a sad, really sad situation there. And when you look at teams like this, you see, right again. When you look at teams like Virginia Tech, and we'll talk about UCLA here in a second, but when you look at teams like Virginia Tech, proud team, lots of history, and an 0-3 start is not going to cut it in Blacksburg. Brent Pry getting the gate in only his second season. The situation is just as bad in Los Angeles. UCLA thought they had an up-and-coming coach in hiring Deshaun Foster, who I'm thinking, damn, wasn't he just playing not too long ago? But that's neither here nor there. After Chip Kelly decided the pressure of coaching in Los Angeles was a little too much, he decided, I'm going to go for an easy job, be offensive coordinator at Ohio State. That is an easy job. But When he left, Deshaun Foster took over his alma mater, and many people hailed him as a hot young coach that UCLA was able to grab before some of the smaller schools got him. He had to work his way up. He was considered a top-notch hire. It's not been good in Westwood. When you are drawing less than 20,000 people to the cavernous Rose Bowl and then getting your back blown out by New Mexico, and I'm not dissing the Lobos, not at all. But when you're in the Big Ten and you're at UCLA, a proud school, you're not supposed to lose to UNLV. The game was in Vegas. We'll let that one slide. But you're not supposed to get your back blown out by New Mexico. And no diss to the Lobos. They're a decent team. But 35-10 at home. And it wasn't even a booing crowd at the Rose Bowl. There was hardly anyone there. I've been in the cavernous Rose Bowl before. That place is huge. Place seats almost 100,000. And there were barely 30,000 people at the Rose Bowl. If that isn't a sign of the times, bad times in Westwood, I don't know what is. And Deshaun Foster got the gate. And you look at, and things aren't going to get any better for the Bruins. Their schedule's murder. I mean, yeah, they go to Chicago to play Northwestern, but that's a road game. That's not going to be an easy cake. And who's coming out to L.A.? Penn State. They're only the second-ranked team in the country. It's not going to get any better for UCLA. You have a murderer's row of scheduling coming up on the docket. Penn State, at Michigan State, at Indiana. Nebraska's no pushover. No, then there's a little matter of a team they're going to play on November 15th in Columbus, the Ohio State University. Find me wins on that schedule. Find me at least 2 wins on that schedule. This whole thing at UCLA and Los Angeles is not going to get any better because the Big Ten is a minefield. And if you fall off in the Big Ten, the drop is very, 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 very steep. And it's not going to get any easier in Blacksburg for the Hokies. The ACC is not quite as deep as the Big Ten, but there are plenty of tough teams in that conference. Florida State, North Carolina, Louisville, Boston. I mean, you've got Miami. You've got one team after another in that conference. This isn't a pushover conference. There's no lollipops here. After the Hokies play Wofford, it's not going to get any easier. Things are going to get tough for the Hokies and the Bruins before they get any better. I've never been really sure about how I felt about Kawhi Leonard. I mean, going back to the days when he played at San Diego State, he was a different kind of cat, to be sure. And to figure out the way he played, the way he carried himself, I mean, he was always a different cat. Type of guy who drove a 10, 15-year-old car, Suburban, because it was a good car and he liked it. He didn't splurge on a fancy car, fancy house when he played in San Antonio. And he was considered a model of the Yeoman-like San Antonio Spurs, the team that played the right way. I used to hate hearing pundits talk about the Spurs and how they played the right way. But Leonard was the embodiment of quiet, selfless, team play oriented that the Spurs were. Until he got a little annoyed by the Spurs and the Spurs got annoyed by him with his constant injuries. Now, Kawhi Leonard, when healthy, is without question one of the premier players in the NBA. He, when healthy, is good for somewhere between the neighborhood of 25 and 30 points a game. The problem with Kawhi Leonard is he can't stay healthy. He has had a litany of injuries dating back to his time in San Antonio. The Spurs got tired of going round and round with him and decided enough was enough. And they traded him to Toronto. Now, his single year in up north was very fruitful. Leonard won an NBA title, the Raptors' only NBA title, the only NBA title that has been outside the U.S., with a absolutely scintillating run of wins. And everybody remembers that Game 7 final shot against the Sixers, where he's driving to the corner, throws up a prayer three-pointer that bounce on the back of the rim before dropping through, sending the Sixers home and sending the Raptors on to the Eastern Finals. That was one of probably the most thrilling finishes that I have seen in my lifetime watching basketball. And I've seen a lot of basketball. But of course, Toronto wasn't going to keep Kawhi Leonard, even though they tried to empty out the piggy bank to keep him and went through a myriad of pleadings to keep the recalcitrant star. Kawhi Leonard went on to LA, where he is, the area he is from. Not to the Lakers, which a lot of people thought he was going to go to, but he goes to the Clippers. Now, the Clippers have long labored under the Lakers' shadow. Since moving to LA in 1984, they have been the B squad in LA. Aside from a brief period where they were Lob City, a very exciting team with Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, and the like, playing very above the rim basketball. Very fun to watch. And the Lakers were down at that time. Very sorry Lakers team. But the Clippers took the mantle as the quote-unquote glamour team in LA for a brief period. That kind of ended when the Lakers got LeBron James. Now, fighting for star power, the Clippers needed a new big name. Now, after the Clippers, under years of ineptitude under Donald Sterling, sold the team by force to Steve Ballmer, the multi-billionaire owner of Microsoft. Now, Ballmer's got money. Ballmer's got crazy money. And he was influential in luring Kawhi Leonard to LA. That being said, the Clippers have played decently under Leonard. They've been a perennial playoff team, even though they've only won 3 playoff series and have only had Kawhi Leonard for 58% of their games. And it gets worse. Now it seems that the Clippers may have tried to circumvent the salary cap by paying Kawhi Leonard to do side jobs. Not advertising or anything of that nature, but work, allegedly, that he didn't do or wasn't supposed to show up for. He was just getting money. That is a little verboten in the NBA guidelines and rules. Person plays, person gets a contract, you're supposed to stay within the salary cap. Circumventing the salary cap is a no-no. Teams that have tried to circumvent the salary cap or let players take lower money, but then paying them outside is usually punishable very heavily. Witness the 2000 Minnesota Timberwolves tried to pay Joe Smith under the table, tried to get him to take a lower salary in promise of a bigger salary down the road. The Timberwolves got heavily punished. They lost 5 number 1 draft choices. They, on appeal, they ended up losing 3, but it's still, the NBA came down heavy on the Timberwolves. Will they do the same for the Clippers? Now, the Clippers have their own problems with Kawhi Leonard. They've always been kind of touchy and just very hands-off, loath to offend the, as I've called him for twice before, the recalcitrant superstar who just seems to play by his own rules. Not necessarily Jordan rules, but kind of a don't talk to me, don't look at me, don't say anything to me, don't speak unless spoken to, media is not supposed to film me, anything like that. For fear of offending their star, they've tried to make sure that he has been catered to, his every whim. He wanted Paul George. He said he wouldn't sign with the Clippers unless they got Paul George. They got Paul George. Their time together was kind of shaky. Paul George is gone now from the Clippers. Now it's just Kawhi Leonard. And how long he stays in LA, he still has another year on his contract. But Kawhi Leonard is also 34. And he is also still very, very injury prone. Will the Clippers get a deep run into the playoffs with their moody, very quiet superstar? If he plays. If he doesn't decide to do load management and sit out quietly. No one knows what the future will hold for Kawhi Leonard. I personally think he's going to do as he wants to do. Play a couple of games, take a couple of games off for load management, and play just so often. The Clippers will be a better team because he is on their roster. But how much they benefit from his play, if he plays, is anyone's guess.
Is today your last day on Earth because you are being deployed to space tomorrow? Have you just turned 18 and you're ready to get out of your parents' house? Has your granddaughter gotten her boyfriend pregnant? Whatever your reason, you need us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com. We specialize in last-minute weddings. Active duty, military veterans and retired discounts are available. Visit us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com.
Do you love high school football? Want to get in the minds of coaches before their big game? Then tune into the Hurry Up podcast. Presented by Hoodwood Media Group, the Hurry Up checks in with high school coaches weekly to get their thoughts on their next opponent and what it will take to get a victory. Check out the Hurry Up podcast every Thursday on YouTube on the Hoodwood Media Group page, linked in the show notes. Be sure to follow us on social media at HG Media Group. And now, back to the Hoodwood.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's premier destination for no-nonsense commentary, thorough analysis, and logical insight on the world of sports. Now here's the man that Wikipedia and Google call for sports fact checks, your host, KJ Green.
You are back in the Hoodwood. My name is KJ Green, and let's look at the Week 3 NFL picks. Another solid week in the Hoodwood for the picks. Another 12-4 week, 24-8 overall. I'm really surprised that I got both of my lock and upset correct again for the second week in a row to start the season. That's a positive sign. I'm hoping I don't jinx myself by patting myself on the back, but I'm hoping that the good fortune continues for your review, perusal, and approval. Here are the week's picks with the odds being provided by ESPN Bet for comparison and informative purposes only. I say that because I don't pay bookies. And if you bet the lines and lose, do not come looking at me. Though it is my birthday, I have no desire to pay off a bookie, and I will rat him out to where you're at. So with that notwithstanding, let's look at this week's picks. All times are in Eastern Daylight, and check your local listings for the games in your area. Unless noted, these are regional games. I will note the national games. Do check the fine folks at 506sports.com for a comprehensive map of the games in your area. Start out with the games of Sunday, September 21st, all times Eastern. We will lead off with the 2-0 Green Bay Packers taking on the 0-2 Cleveland Browns at Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland. 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox. The Packers are 7.5-point favorites. Last week, the Packers defeated Washington by the score of 27-18, while the Browns lost to the Ravens 41-17. Now, this is an old school NFL matchup. The Packers and the Browns go way, 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 way back. The problem is the Packers are NFL elite and the Browns are scuffling. Joe Flacco is looking more and more like a pumpkin, and we're wondering how long it's going to be before the natives start screaming for either Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. The Packers, led by Micah Parsons, will give the Browns no quarter. This game will be ugly. And it's just too easy to start picking anybody who Cleveland is playing as the lock of the week. Dare I do it? Yes. I'm just going to start off the top. Green Bay Packers, as much as I loathe them, they're 10 times better than the Browns. They're the Hoodwood lock of the week. Next on the docket, we have the 1-1 Colts. I take that back. Try it again. Next on the docket, we have the 2-0 Colts taking on the 0-2 Titans at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. The Colts are 4.5-point favorites. Last week, the Colts defeated the Broncos 29-28, while the Titans lost to the The Titans lost to the Rams 33-19. This is a matchup of AFC South standings. The Colts are surprisingly leading the division, while the Titans, as usual, as expected, are scuffling along the bottom. The Titans' offense is a hot mess. Yes, Cam Ward is showing some promise as a quarterback, but he is a rookie and he will struggle. Now, the Colts, I don't believe in their 2-0 start. Yes, they got lucky with a fortunate late penalty to beat the Broncos on a 45 instead of a 60-yard field goal, but I still think they're doing a smoke and mirrors. But will it matter this week against the lowly Titans? Even though the game is on the road, the Titans have lost 7 at home. I think it's going to be 8. The pick here is Indianapolis. Next on the docket, we have, I guess I'll skip that one. No, I won't because I didn't put a pick on it. Cut that. Next on the docket, we have the 2-0 Bengals taking on the 1-1 Vikings at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. The Vikings are 2.5-point favorites. Last week, the Bengals defeated the Jaguars 31-27, while the Vikings lost to the Falcons 22-6. What it was going to be billed as a headliner matchup of marquee quarterbacks, so headliner that CBS put their top team on the call in Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Oops! Problem is, both quarterbacks, or starting quarterbacks, are down with injuries. Joe Burrow being out 3 months with a turf toe, and J.J. McCarthy being down with a high ankle sprain. So, you will have the inimitable Carson Wentz against the heretofore unheralded Jake Browning. Not Jake from State Farm, Jake Browning. When I saw these two teams play in 2023 at Paycor Stadium, Jake Browning was leading the Bengals. I don't know why it is, but Joe Burrow just can't play against the Vikings. Small problem, the stand-ins are standing in for this game. Carson Wentz, he's still in this league? Yes, he's still in this league. He'll be piloting the Vikings, while Jake Browning of the Bengals will be making his first start for the Bengals in over a year. Now, the Vikings defense got sliced and diced on the run. Will the Bengals be able to do the same? I don't believe that Chase Brown will be able to do what Bijan Robinson of the Falcons did to the Vikings last week. I think that the Vikings will take advantage of a porous Bengals offensive line, and even though Jake Browning does have a quicker release, he will make a couple of dumb mistakes, and Carson Wentz, that wily veteran, will take advantage of it, and the Vikings will bounce back ahead of their upcoming European trip. The pick here is Minnesota. Next on the docket, we have the 1-1 Steelers taking on the 1-1 Patriots at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. The Steelers are 1.5-point favorites. Last week, the Steelers lost to the Seahawks 31-17, while the Patriots defeated the Dolphins 33-27. Which Aaron Rodgers will show up? The one that tore up the Jets and made everybody think Aaron Rodgers is back, or the one that looked disinterested, bored, and lackluster in an absolutely abysmal showing against the Seahawks at home? This game for the Patriots won't be a bellwether of if they're improving or not. I really don't think the Patriots are that good. They have a lot of growing to do. That being said, I think Drake May will show decently against the Steelers' often questionable defense. But on the other hand, I can't really bet against Aaron Rodgers having 2 bad games in a row. If he does, it may really be time for him to hang it up. I don't think he'll play 2 games bad in a row. The pick here is Pittsburgh. Next on the docket, we have the 2-0 Rams taking on the 2-0 Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox. The Eagles are 3.5-point favorites. Last week, the Rams defeated the Titans 33-19, while the Eagles defeated the Chiefs 20-17. The Rams are looking sharp. Matthew Stafford has reached back in the Wayback Machine to recall his halcyon days of Detroit and his early time in Los Angeles. He is piloting a Rams offense that has looked sharp in the first couple of weeks. They head to Philly to take on the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles, who have in their first 2 games and returned to their home venue to take on a last year playoff team. This should be a good game. Both teams play really sharp defense and have at least enough offensive pop to give those defenses some pause. It will be a slugfest in Philly. Flip a coin. I really am is a tough call for this pundit to try to make. Flip a coin. I like Philly at home. A Western team headed east, even though I think they still stayed in the Eastern time zone and didn't have to travel back to LA for practice this week. But a Western team heading east, I usually have a hard time with. I'm going to go with the home team here. The pick is Philadelphia. Next on the docket, we have the 0-2 Jets taking on the 2-0 Buccaneers at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox. The Buccaneers are 6.5-point favorites. Last week, the Jets lost to the Bills 30-10, while the Buccaneers defeated the Texans 20-19. This is a case of 2 teams going in opposite directions just that fast. The Jets look clueless and getting slapped around by the Bills in Gotham, while the Bucs look sharp in a late rally to defeat the Texans on the road. Back in the friendly climes of Tampa, I really don't think Baker Mayfield is going to have that much of a problem against the Jets defense, as long as he avoids Sauce Gardner. And the Jets have shown no predilection of being able to stop a team with a decent running game. Bucky Walter, I believe that's that boy's name. Jeez, I'm just messing this up left and right. Okay. We'll cut that up too. Bucky Irvin should have a solid game against a so-so Jets defense, and I think that the Bucs will roll fairly easily. The pick here is Tampa Bay. Next on the docket, we have the 1-1 Raiders taking on the 1-1 Commanders at Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland. 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox. The Commanders are 3.5-point favorites. Last week, the Raiders lost to the Chargers by a score of 20-9, while the Commanders lost to the Packers 27-18. Both these teams coming off of lackluster performances in prime time. The Raiders reverting to form and losing at home, while the Commanders looked a little lost against a rugged Packers defense. I think that Jaden Daniels has a bounce-back game against a suspect Raiders defense, and playing on the East Coast, Western team usually has trouble. Though the Raiders was able to pull it off in New England, going to Washington to win is a much tougher task. The pick here is Washington. We will take a timeout, come back with the rest of the early docket as well as the late games and the primetime game. Sports from Hoodwood continues after this.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest insight, thorough analysis, and unfiltered opinion on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's the man of the hour, After Hours, your host, KJ Green.
On we go in the Hoodwood. Let's clean up the rest of these early games and move on to the late docket. Next on the docket, we have the 1-1 Falcons taking on the 0-2 Panthers at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox. The Falcons are 5.5-point favorites. Last week, the Falcons defeated the Vikings 22-6, while the Panthers lost to the Cardinals 27-22. The Falcons bounced back nicely after a tough week one loss to more or less slap around the Vikings. They stay on the road to go to Charlotte to play the woebegone Panthers, who, try as they might, just could not get past the Cardinals and look very bad in the desert. I like Bijan Robinson's running. The Falcons keep it simple for Michael Penix and are using a really slow, plodding offensive game plan to stymie offenses. They hung tough against the Buccaneers, even though they lost, but they played the game tight. They steamrolled the Vikings with that rugged running game. I cannot see the Panthers defense, though they are decent, slowing down this Falcons running game. Falcons will be one of the more pleasant surprises in the division. The pick here is Atlanta. Next on the docket, we have the 0-2 Texans taking on the 1-1 Jaguars at Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville. 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. The Jags are 1.5-point favorites. Last week, the Texans lost to the Buccaneers 20-19, while the Jaguars lost to the Bengals 31-27. The Texans are trying to stay out of their own way. They've had two very tough losses to playoff teams and go on the road to face a Jags team who really think they should be 2-0. They gave away that game against Cincinnati and really had no business losing that game, but for some dumb play calling by the Jaguars coaching staff. I'm looking at you, Liam Cohen. And the Jags are a couple of bad calls away from being 2-0. I think the Texans are way overdue for a bounce back. I don't believe in the Jags, even though the Jags do have a decent offense. But C.J. Stroud is way overdue for a breakout game. And I think that the Jags defense, while decent, can be run and thrown on. I think this is an upset waiting to happen. Wait a minute. Did I say upset? Yes. While the Texans were victim of my upset special last week, I think they pulled the upset on the road. That's why the Houston Texans said the Hoodwood upset of the week. Now let's turn to the late game, shall we? On the late docket, we have the 1-1 Broncos taking on the 2-0 Chargers at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. 4:05 kickoff on CBS. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. Last week, the Broncos lost to the Colts 29-28, while the Chargers defeated the Raiders 20-9. It's finally home for the Chargers, even though they were the home team in Brazil, but they are actually playing at home in the friendly climes of SoFi Stadium. They take on the Broncos, hard luck losers, in Indianapolis by 1 point after a would have been 60-yard field goal missed, but the Broncos used leverage to try to block the field goal, lost 15 yards, and the Colts walked off with a late field goal, a buzzer-beating field goal, or untimed down, as I like to call it, and lost the game. The Chargers are looking sharp offensively. Even though they did look kind of so-so against the Raiders, I think being at home is good tonic for them. Justin Herbert should have a solid game. At least I hope he has a solid game. He's one of my fantasy quarterbacks. The pick here is the Los Angeles Chargers. Next on the docket, we have the 0-2 Saints taking on the 1-1 Seahawks at Lumen Field in Seattle. 4:05 kickoff on CBS. The Seahawks are 7.5-point favorites. Last week, the Saints lost to the 49ers 26-21, while the Seahawks defeated the Steelers 31-17. Seahawks returned to their friendly climes of Lumen Field, fresh off of a surprising win on the road in Pittsburgh. They host the Saints, who are scuffling, trying to get out of their own way, and failing badly, even though their first two games have been more competitive than more people thought. I think the Saints playing at home, they might have been able to give the Seahawks a good go. But this game's in Seattle. The Seahawks play really, really tough in Seattle. And I don't think that Spencer Rattler and company will be able to overcome this. The doubtable Sam Darnold will have another solid game, and the Seahawks should roll. Pick here is Seattle. Next on the docket, we have the 2-0 Cardinals taking on the 2-0 49ers at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 4:25 kickoff on Fox. The 49ers are 2.5-point favorites. Last week, the Cardinals defeated the Panthers 27-22, while the 49ers defeated the Saints 26-21. A pair of surprising 2-0 teams face off here by the Bay, where the Cardinals have looked fairly sharp in their 2 wins, but they have been over fairly sorry teams in the Saints and the Panthers. While the 49ers surprised the Seahawks at home in week 1 and spanked the Saints, or at least tried to keep the Saints from coming back on them and beating them in the Big Easy. Now, this being the Niners home opener, I think the Niners will play a lot better than they've been advertised. Brock Purdy, who thunk it? Who knew? He's actually playing fairly decent, overcoming injuries, and will be playing fairly solid for the 49ers. Even though it's early in the season, both the 49ers are a little bit beat up. The Cardinals, I'm sorry, I just don't buy into it. They've played 2 weak teams, and playing the Saints at home, playing the Saints in New Orleans wasn't that big of a deal. The Niners beat the Saints at home as well, and then beating a milquetoast Panthers team at home isn't proving anything. If they can go on the road and pull out a win, I'll be impressed. Do I think they'll do it? No. The pick here is the San Francisco 49ers. Next on the docket, we have the 1-1 Cowboys taking on the 0-2 Bears at Soldier Field in Chicago. 4:25 kickoff on Fox. The Cowboys are 1.5-point favorites. Last week, the Cowboys defeated the Giants 40-37 in overtime, while the Bears lost to the Lions 52-21. The Pokes got lucky. Let's just put that out of the way. A long field goal by Brandon Aubrey got them to overtime, and despite the wiles of Russell Wilson, managed to beat the clock and the Giants in overtime. Now they head to the midway to take on the Bears, who are looking more and more confused by the week. Caleb Williams is one more bad start away from hitting the bench, I think, because I think Ben Johnson just has no patience with him. He will find the sledding fairly tough against the Pokes defense, who've added Jadeveon Clowney to their defense. Will this make the Cowboys a fearsome team? No. Will it get them the win? Yes. I think the Cowboys are the much better team, and the vultures continue to circle over Caleb Williams' head. The pick here is Dallas. Primetime game is a pair of winless teams, surprisingly. On one side, the 0-2 Chiefs taking on the 0-2 Giants at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 8:20 kickoff on NBC. The Chiefs are 6.5-point favorites. Last week, the Chiefs lost to the Eagles 20-17, while the Giants lost to the Cowboys 40-37 in overtime. Now, both these teams are 0-2. Most people didn't think that the Chiefs would be 0-2 after their week 1 loss in Brazil. Then they came home to get more or less dominated by the Eagles. They head to Gotham to take on the Giants, who, after a lackluster week 1 loss to Washington, played the Cowboys tough, but lost, and the demise of Russell Wilson has been greatly exaggerated as he lit the Cowboys up for over 400 yards. Albeit in a loss, he has put the talk of Jackson Dart starting in his place to quiet those rumors down at least for another week. He gets a start for the G-Men, while Patrick Mahomes is still trying to figure out where it all went wrong. But I think the Chiefs offense finally gets its get right in a primetime stage against a New York team that I really don't think scares anybody. Russell Wilson will be running for his life against a hungry Chiefs defense, eager to play a beatdown on somebody. The pick here is Kansas City. Finally, the Monday night game is the 1-1 Lions against the 1-1 Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. 8:15 kickoff on ABC and ESPN. The Ravens are 4.5-point favorites. Last week, the Lions defeated the Bears 52-21, while the Ravens defeated the Browns 41-17. Both of these teams bounced back out off of disappointing losses to ring up big wins at home. The Lions rang up 52 points and just seemed like they were back in their comfort zone with a quick-hitting offense that was multifaceted, running on you, passing on you, but it was against the Bears. The sledding will be much, much tougher against the Ravens, who they don't have a fearsome defense of yesteryear, but they are respectable. Yes, they slapped around the Browns, which everybody's able to do, but the Ravens will be a tough go. This is a very good Monday night game, and I think this will be a tight game all the way around. Something keeps telling me that the Lions are going to put it together and win another game. But in Baltimore, I don't have a good feeling about this. I think the Ravens win a low-scoring slugfest and emerge with the division lead. Pick here, it's Baltimore Ravens, and there you have it. Last week, went 12-4 with the lock and upset correct. Kids, 24-8 overall, 2-0 on both locks and the upsets. We will take our final timeout, come back with the Hoodwood Hot 5. It's not going to be a list, just 5 quick hit topics, the Phat Dap Head Slap, and the final word from the Wood. Sports from the Hoodwood heads down the home stretch after this.
Is today your last day on Earth because you are being deployed to space tomorrow? Have you just turned 18 and you're ready to get out of your parents' house? Has your granddaughter gotten her boyfriend pregnant? Whatever your reason, you need us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com. We specialize in last-minute weddings. Active duty, military veterans and retired discounts are available. Visit us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com.
Do you love high school football? Want to get in the minds of coaches before their big game? Then tune into the Hurry Up podcast. Presented by Hoop Good Media Group, the Hurry Up checks in with high school coaches weekly to get their thoughts on their next opponent and what it will take to get a victory. Check out the Hurry Up podcast every Thursday on YouTube on the Hoop Good Media Group page, linked in the show notes. Be sure to follow us on social media at HG Media Group. And now, back to the Hoodwood.
You're tuned into Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for no-nonsense commentary, insight, and opinions on the world of sports. Here now live in living color, black by popular demand. Your host, KJ Green.
Rounding third and headed for home here in the Hoodwood. We'll finish up strong with the Hoodwood Hot 5, Phat Dap Head Slap, and the final word from the Wood. Snuffy's sign is broken. He needs to get a better eraser. But let's start out with the Hoodwood Hot 5 leading off. It seems that Washington, D.C., we're not going to do any kind of hot 5, like a countdown or anything this week. Just 5 topics that off the top of my head that I just want to touch on. Washington, D.C. has decided that they will do a full revamp of RFK Stadium, and the Washington Commanders will move back into their Southeast Washington haunts, a place that they have not been since 1996, when they moved to now known as Northwest Stadium. It was called FedEx Field for a while and had a bunch of different monikers, but it was out in Landover, Maryland. RFK Stadium was a formidable venue for Washington opponents in the 30-some-odd years that they played in D.C. But when they moved to the suburbs of Maryland, the place got a lot more or less, I should say more or less, that's funny, a lot less formidable. Now I think them moving to downtown or moving back to the city is a good move, that it reconnects them with their fan base a little bit more closer, and that it may make the Commanders, a rising team in the NFC, even more of a formidable foe than before. Our second topic here in the Hoodwood Hot 5, I think it was a really, really nice gesture by the University of Florida to finally reinstate Vernon Maxwell, who's now known as the school's all-time leading scorer. He had 2 of his seasons stripped from him as he was the focus of an NCAA probe in the late 80s. The then athletic director decided to capriciously take the last 2 years of Maxwell's career from him, basically making them null and void. While he was never found guilty of any infractions, Florida was on some self-imposed probation. And 2 of the eligible years that Maxwell had played with Florida were taken away. That dropped him from 1st to 55th in Florida all-time leading scorer. Now that they restored his stats, he's now the all-time leading scorer, which I think was a good move by Florida, because while Maxwell was a focus of a probe, he was never found guilty of any kind of infractions. I think that was a good move by Florida, and that Maxwell now will be harmoniously reunited with his alma mater and his stats rightfully reinstated. Good on Florida. Clayton Kershaw is calling it a career after 18 years in the bigs, all with the Dodgers. Kershaw has been, I would say, either a love him or hate him type of player for the Dodgers. A lot of people thought his style and playing mannerisms were a little bit off-putting. I thought he was a decent pitcher. I didn't know the numbers that he had put up were as high as they were. I mean, I knew he had he was part of the Dodgers, in the teens, was one of the better known, and I'll correct all this. Try that again. Clayton Kershaw will be calling it a career with the Dodgers. He has played 18 years with the Boys in Blue. Will be calling it a career. He told manager Dave Roberts that he will be hanging it up after this season, and I hope that Roberts will find a place for Kershaw on the postseason roster. Dodgers won the World Series, but Kershaw didn't really play that much as he was injured. But he did got a World Series ring and was on the postseason roster. He became the 20th pitcher to record 3,000 strikeouts back in July. And I think that the Dodgers will be well within their rights to honor Kershaw. I think he should be a first or second ballot Hall of Famer. He has played he's played decently this year, going 10-2 with a 3.53 ERA. He'll be making his final start at Dodger Stadium on Friday night. I think that the Dodgers should honor Kershaw formally and possibly retire his number. But Clayton Kershaw will be calling it a career, and Hoodwood salutes him. Our fourth topic let me go through these lists here. Aha. Speaking of Major League Baseball, does anybody really pay attention to the pennant races, the playoff races? There is over a week, just about a week, 10 days left in the Major League regular season, and the playoff races aren't really capturing the nation's attention. I mean, there have been years. I mean, you can go all the way back to 1993 when the Giants and the Braves had a duel to the death down to the last day of the season. The Giants won 103 games, didn't go to the playoffs. Gone are those days. You'll never see a team win 100 games and not go to the playoffs anymore with the way the current playoff system is now. That being said, is anybody really paying attention to the playoff race? I mean, the Tigers were running away with AL Central, but have slowly come back to earth, and the Guardians are slowly creeping up on them. I don't think that they'll be able to run the Tigers down. I think the Tigers should have enough in the tank to be able to get over the finish line. Now, will this bowl badly for the postseason? It's anybody's guess. Tarek Skubal has played decently down the stretch, but the Tigers have not played well. There aren't any real pennant races to watch, though. I mean, with so many guaranteed playoff spots, it's just get to the playoffs and then see what happens. The drama of the pennant race is gone, and that's a sad thing. Finally, our fifth topic let me see, we did 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, one more thing. And I mentioned earlier about the troubles with UCLA and Virginia Tech. All their players are now eligible to go into the transfer portal. You thought there was going to be Wild West before. It's going to get even worse now. Now, the spring transfer portal is gone. NCAA is deemed there's only be one transfer portal open at the end of the regular season and right by the bowls. So the transfer portal, the spring transfer portal, is gone. It's still going to be a wild scenario and situation in college football because players will be jumping all over the place. Now, the time that the players will be jumping from team to team is a lot shorter, and it's one set time. But still, the non-regulation of the way teams are able to jump from team to team to team is getting a little out of hand. I don't mind players going to where they want to go, but only do it once. You get one transfer gratis, and then after that, you got to sit out a year. Other than that, the way the transfer portal is, it's starting to get a little bit silly. Now let's look at this week's Hoodwood Phat Dap and Head Slap. Turning to our Phat Dap and Head Slap of the week, our Phat Dap of the week goes to football player, Hall of Famer, Jerry Rice, who him and his wife Letitia recently paid over $667,000 in school lunch debt for over 103 Bay Area schools, ensuring thousands of children would not go hungry and enabling to keep their focus on their studies. This act, I can't say enough about this. I mean, I always think that school lunches at least that kids should have at least one meal at school a day to help them focus on their studies. I mean, going hungry in school is a crime. I think it should be is a travesty. And Jerry Rice stepped in, and him and his wife paid over $667,000 for 103 Bay Area schools. That in itself, lifting a financial burden off of families and ensuring thousands of children receive meals, is an act of generosity and kindness that just redoubles my thinking of Jerry Rice as a Hall of Famer, not only as a world-class receiver, but as a world-class person. Phat Dap to Jerry Rice and his wife Letitia for such a great move. Hoodwood salutes you. Now, as we get into the head slap of the week, I'm going to preface this with saying that I am a dog owner. Not Snuffy. Snuffy, of course, he's a stuffed animal, but I do have a dog, pit bull by the name of Rocky. I'll introduce you to him one of these weeks when I change the locale of Hoodwood permanently. But I'm a dog owner, a dog lover, and I abhor any kind of instances of dog fighting or anything like that. That being said, the head slap of the week goes to Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, he didn't have anything to do with dog fighting before you get into that. But he did make a post with a Michael Vick jersey and Kyler Murray's own two dogs, English Bulldogs. And the level of insensitivity is just astounding. Now, Michael Vick, for his part, was convicted and sentenced to a prison sentence for his part in a dogfighting ring in 2007. He did serve his prison time, repudiated his actions, and made a number of charitable actions toward animal rights causes. Some people still don't like Michael Vick, and I can understand that. But he has served his time, paid his penance, and is done with the whole thing. But to go back to Kyler Murray posing in a Michael Vick jersey with dogs is a little tone deaf, is just slightly off-putting. Kyler Murray should know better. Pose with your dogs, fine. Say that you're a Michael Vick fan, okay, but that and dogs, just a slight bit tone deaf. Kyler Murray should know better. Head slap to Kyler Murray. That's just a bad look. Now, without much further ado, let's go to the final word from the wood. Now, as of the taping of this show, well, let's say the Saturday following the taping of this show, I will celebrate my 53rd birthday. I'm fortunate enough to have made it around the sun 53 times. Well, I think of now, I guess I would be considered now an OG. The increasing gray in my beard is showing off a little bit more than I'd like to, but it's just one of those things, as my grandma used to say, if you're getting older, that's a blessing. Just take it and go with it. Now, I think I say this in context of I remember being 15 years old, watching the Super Bowl with my uncle and watching Doug Williams carve up the Denver Broncos en route to winning Super Bowl MVP, throwing 5 touchdown passes as Washington defeated Denver 42-10, and how the pundits and commentators all were going on and on about, oh, the first time a black quarterback has played and won a Super Bowl. And I remember thinking, wouldn't it be nice one day when a black quarterback isn't going to be such a big deal? Well, now you look at the numbers, and it is sheer numbers. Great article by Bill Roden in Anscape highlights that now there are 16 starting quarterbacks in the NFL of color. And there have been a number of black quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls, from Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson, and just recently Jalen Hurts. The thing that I have always wondered was, would it ever be a time where a black quarterback would just be that, a quarterback? No one would worry about, oh, it's a black quarterback, or if it's, what his color is, but if he could play. And that if a black quarterback was on a team, would he be benched? And would it be a big deal? And I think I would like to keep my fingers crossed that it now isn't such a big deal. Now that you have a number of quarterbacks in the NFL who are of color and that are starting, from Jaden Daniels being such a wonderful player, but I think just because he's a young, dynamic player, not because he's black. Justin Fields being traded from the Bears to the Steelers to the Jets, but he's a journeyman. And I always used to think, would there ever be a quote-unquote journeyman black quarterback? Well, now it seems that there is. Now it seems that the talent is there, and that a number of teams have decided, okay, we're going to play these players. And not because they are black, but because they're talented. And I think that's what it's always been about. I remember hearing commentary at the end of the Super Bowl that Doug Williams famously pioneered, and that they said, I hope that this puts a rest to it. Because for the longest time, many people thought a black man couldn't be a quarterback, that he didn't possess the mental fortitude to be a quarterback and to run an offense. Well, it seems that supposed fallacy has been long since disproven. And I think that is a good thing. I do think that the number of quarterbacks in the NFL being of color, and it being pretty much about half of the league, is pretty much the way it should be, a standard. But again, I think it shouldn't really matter if the quarterback's black, white, purple, yellow, whatever. As long as your team wins, that's all that matters. But I do think it's a good thing that black quarterbacks are getting that chance to prove themselves. And that is the final word from the Wood. Now, with the music coming up in the background, you know that means that your time here in the Hoodwood is just about done. And I thank you so much again for your visit. Now, the show's email is kjgreen@sportsfromthehoodwood.com. Please do send me emails regarding show topics, both past and future, questions, comments on the show, and both praise and criticism. I welcome your correspondence, and we'll try to get back to you in a timely manner. Now, the show's website is sportsfromthehoodwood.com and has a back catalog of the show dating back 13 years in both audio and video forms, so do check that out if there are shows that you may have missed. Join the debate and conversation on Sports from the Hoodwood page on Facebook. That's video podcast simulcast, as well as other topics, funny stuff that I find on the web, and plenty of great contributions from our members. I post often there and do respond to member posts frequently. Now, the video versions are on YouTube and Spotify. Please hit that subscribe button, smash that like button for more great content. Now, the link to the podcast is on the show's Blue Sky feed. We'll get that back up here soon at hoodwoodsports.blueskysocial, with a host of interesting stuff to find there as well. Your correspondence to the show is encouraged, and we do respond back, so like and follow there as well. Now, you can find the audio version is on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Samsung Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and a host of other fine podcast platforms and providers. If the Hoodwood is not on your favorite, please do ask for it. Drop me a line, and I'll do what I can to get it there. Now, we've expanded our podcast availability thanks to your correspondence, and I do appreciate you reaching out to me. As always, special thanks to Rage Pictures for providing production assistance to both the show and the website. And that's it from the Hoodwood, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Until next time, fellow sports fan, I'm Merely Bev's son, KJ Green, 30.
Sports from the Hoodwood
is a Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises presentation
of a 551 audio and